Hey guys, so today's video is a how I teach geography, and I have actually done one similar to this before, but I thought I would go a little bit more in depth now that it's been a couple of years that we've been using the same method. I'm gonna share just the different ways we do geography without using a curriculum, which is really fun. I think geography can either be, at least in my experience in middle and high school, say, it can either be really fun and exciting and give you an idea of culture and an excitement to travel, or it can be a total drag and it can be dry, and you kind of learn some information that, unless you're going into one very specific field or career, wouldn't really be information you needed to know. So I did go to a conference a few years ago with Sonia Schaefer, and one of the things that she said was the study of geography should be about customs and culture and not about currency and statistics. And that really kind of plucked me right out of the path that I was going down with geography and made geography a very fun and exciting part of our homeschool. So the first method that we use for our geography is the map drill. So the map drill is basically what it sounds like. I give them a blank map and they fill in, or they point to, or they you know, just tell me what each state is or what each country is, depending on, you know, right now we're doing US geography, but we've done Europe. Next year I think we're doing Asia. So they'll just point or write in on the blank map what each country is or state. And once they don't know a state or a country, I will have them reference the map on their own. And this is something I learned from Sonia Schaefer, who runs the Simply Charlotte Mason, writes the Simply Charlotte Mason curriculum. And so they will check it themselves. They will go to the map, they will pick what they want to know, what they want to add on to their map drill next, or they will check their own work if they can't remember. So a lot of times they'll look at me when they're pointing and they'll say, okay, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, what is that? What is that? I know it, and I zip my lips and tell them to go check the map. The more often that they are referencing a map, the better. So until they remember Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, they don't add another state. Once I feel like they have a good grip on what they're telling me and they're not guessing, like Virginia, once they're able to confidently tell me or write in what each one is, then I will tell them to go grab a map and pick another state to add on to their map drill. I do try to keep my kids memorizing the same thing. I just don't want them hearing so many different states at the same time. So usually I'll say, okay, let's have Bella pick the next state, or let's have Jesse pick the next state. For US geography, I have them look through this book as they're picking the states, but more on that in the second part of this video. So it's simple as that, just having them memorize the location on the map. I have gotten this from Miller Pads and Paper. I also picked up basically the same thing, but it's in just colorful, from the Target Dollar Spot a couple of years ago. You can find blank maps just on Google. They have the Miller Pads and Paper specifically has blank maps of, you know, the whole world, different countries, different provinces, depending on how specific you're wanting to get with it. I'm having them memorize the states, obviously, in America, but when I was doing Europe, I was just having them memorize the countries, not any capitals or anything like that. And this is something you can do. You can have them write on a blank map. You can have them just point. I don't want to put the pressure on my 7-year-old to also write the names of the states, so he's just pointing right now. My daughter, I'm kind of having her do a little bit of both. Sometimes I will give them little cut labels and that they can put on each one, and that's as long as until they lose the labels, then we don't use that anymore, because then I have to go cut a bunch more labels. Other opportunities to do that are just all the different resources you can find. If you have a felt map, you can give them the felt names to hang on the map. If you have a dry erase map, you can use that. That's one we have. My kids love using the scrunch map, but I will just have to cover the names of the states. I'm sure there's tons of apps you can use. Even the puzzles, the geography puzzles, like US geography puzzles, specifically, I know come in the state shapes instead of normal puzzle pieces. So there's a ton of different resources and different ways you can change it up. Sometimes I'll take just a whiteboard map that we have and I'll give them each a different color, and I'll say, okay, color Florida blue, color Georgia green, color Alabama red, and they'll just do that, and then they're hearing me say the name and they're having to find it on the map versus them finding it on the map and trying to remember the name. So I just like to change it up. Sometimes we're sitting at the table, sometimes we're standing at a map, and that just makes it a little bit more enjoyable for me and for them. But the whole point of it is that I don't tell them if they're confused. I make them check their work against a map. That's taking that responsibility and the ownership of their education. And I also have them pick the next country or the next state depending on what geography unit we're on. So I'm not giving them that direct instruction. So the next part of how I teach geography is teaching them the customs and the culture of the different countries versus the statistics and the currency. And this is something that I learned again from Sonia Schaefer. So I remember sitting in on that session and just soaking in everything she had to say specifically about geography, because in my experience growing up, depending on who my teacher was, I either had a really great relationship with geography or a really dry relationship with geography, and it all depended on what the information was and how they were presenting it to me. So I could probably name a few dry facts about different currency in different countries, but I have no connection to that specific culture unless I've traveled there or unless we read a story or had some kind of an immersive experience with maybe cooking the food or something like that. So that is something that I am excited about teaching my kids. I want them to want to travel. I want them to want to understand different cultures versus just having general knowledge about an area. So this is where I find that divide between doing US geography and doing the world geography. So when I'm doing another country or another continent, we will do Hungry Planet and Material World. And these are really great books. This one, I know you guys have seen me show these quite a bit, but if you're new, I'll give you a brief overview. Hungry Planet is all about what the world eats. So they'll take a family and they'll show all of their food that they're going to eat for the week. You'll get to read it's basically like reading articles about that country, and some of their recipes are in there as well. So that's a great opportunity to study each country. Material World is the story of different families all around the world. They take all of their belongings and put them in front of their home, and you can kind of see how they live, what they own, and that gives you a different kind of connection as well versus just knowing what the general income is of that area. So these are really great books. I highly recommend them even if you're not homeschooling. They're just really interesting books, and whenever we are studying a different culture or a different region that we're unfamiliar with, we will see if that country is in either one of these books, and we'll take some time to go through, cook the recipes, get to know the countries a little bit better that way. And so that is one of my favorite parts about geography. Now, unfortunately, there's only one in each of these for United States. So we can't use these books this whole entire year. So this year what my kids are using is the 50 states, and every time they add another state onto their map drill. Now I could in 50 days have them memorize the 50 states, but we're taking it slow because I'm wanting them to open up this book and go through and kind of get to know a little bit about each state. Now I'm not having them memorize the state flag or the state bird or anything like that, or even having my younger kids memorize the capitals, because I don't think they're there quite yet. But basically every time they add a new state on, I'll just have them open this book and spend a little bit of time going through the facts, and then I'll just ask them, hey, what did you like about that? What was cool about that? I mean, you guys saw, I think when I did my morning basket video, I'll stick it up here, kind of how that looks. So go take a peek at that if you want to see what that looks like. I also have my daughter, my oldest, looking at this state capitals book to see if she can pick up some of the capitals as we are doing the 50 states. So while we're not cooking a different recipe for each different state for US geography like we did for every country we were adding when we were doing more of a world geography approach, when we're doing US geography, we're doing things like talking about the different presidents, talking about the history of our area. So we're talking about the whole region out west. We're talking about the New England area and things that have happened in those regions of our country, but we're not specifically getting to do much specific to each individual state, if you know what I mean. Beyond those books, just doing map drill, you can go on Pinterest or go to the library and find different recipes, different crafts, different games. There's all sorts of different stuff you can do to study each individual country. I really don't think geography needs a full curriculum just because there's so much to explore, and you kind of have the basis just by having a map, and then you can just take it and do what you want with it and kind of go off and see crafts, recipes, games, music, culture, art. There's just so much you can do that's just at your fingertips for free. so many resources available on hand specifically for geography. And then another thing that I think is really cool is just to have the kids learn just a couple of words from the different languages. So there's this First Thousand Words in Spanish. Usborne has a bunch of these different First Thousand Words books for all different languages, but you can also just Google it and have them learn hello, goodbye, please, thank you, and just get an idea of what that sounds like, because I think one of the most interesting things about geography and about different cultures is the different ways of communication and the different languages. And then the last way that we teach geography intentionally, of course, it's all over the place. It's in our story of the world, it's in our Bible stories, it's really just all over. And every time that we come across something, we do take a peek at a map just so they can make that connection. Specifically, like when we're doing Story of the World and we're learning about something, we had just learned about modern France, but look, it's the same place on the map that this was happening, you know, 1,000 years ago. So that's really interesting for the kids, and it's always good to just reference back to a map and have them kind of get a good connection visually about where that is in the world. But another thing that we do is we kind of take a break from our normal geography every now and then and do like a unit study or do a focus. If we're reading a book and we're talking about the prairie and Little House on the Prairie, let's talk about westward expansion. Let's talk about this region. If we're reading a 5 in a row book that is set in France, we will take some time, and instead of just focusing on the US geography map drills, we'll go ahead and pull out Material World and Hungry Planet and look at France a little bit deeper. There's all sorts of different opportunities in our area, different festivals going on, like some of our best friends are Chinese. A couple of times we have gone over and really gotten to understand Chinese New Year, so there's that opportunity. If there's a Polish festival, go to the Polish festival, take some time and pull that into your homeschool. There are always a lot of cultural events going on if you're looking in the right places, and I think that I have lived in a couple of larger cities, so I've had the opportunity to kind of stumble upon those things. But even in our small town, there's a lot of different events going on just by different people who are passionate about their own heritage, and that's really the best person to learn from. Maybe there's somebody in your church who is Mexican and she would just love it if your kids went over to her house one day and helped her cook or learned about her childhood. Teaching your kids to ask people questions and learning different arts and crafts and cooking from other people is really just an amazing opportunity that we have as homeschoolers, because we have the time. I don't really know who does have the time, but you at least have a way to plan it into the future, into time, if you have the opportunity present itself. Anytime there's a holiday on the calendar that you're unfamiliar with, take a break from your normal geography and take a peek at what's going on. What are the normal foods being cooked? What are the songs that they're singing? What is the significance of this day to this people group? And see if there's a way that it has any meaning to you as well. So Bastille Day, Cinco de Mayo, Three Kings Day, there's so much going on every day, honestly, that we could really take a peek at and get to know a little bit better. Beyond that, I have printed off Elementary Geography by Charlotte Mason. Now, this is the revised version. I printed this for free from Ambleside online. You can buy it on Amazon as well, but to be honest, like, it's all just black and white ink. So I think it's 41 chapters. We are reading this one day a week in our morning basket. It's not something that we're going too in-depth with. I think it'll take about 1.5 years doing that one day each school week, and then you're supposed to go through it a second time, and your second time through, your kids should be able to answer the questions by memory. So that's a really good option as well, a free resource, and just something that I really like to pull in as many Charlotte Mason references as I can. So there's that. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that using a timeline, there are really a lot of great ways to connect history and geography. And I think that oftentimes, specifically in like junior high and high school, history and geography were all a part of the same social studies class. Although I'm teaching them as separate subjects, using a timeline and keeping a written record in your homeschool of the different people groups, countries, and the different things you're studying in your homeschool, keeping that in a timeline helps connect the geography and the history and the art and the inventions and the science and all of that. So that's a really good resource to have that you can also print for free. I think I printed ours off Half a Hundred Acre Wood, so I will put a link below for that as well, and I will put that in my blog post. So that's that. That's how I teach geography in our homeschool without a curriculum. You guys, like I said, will have to let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite resources are, if you use a curriculum, if you don't use a curriculum, and how you teach geography in your home. The other thing I wanted to mention, if you are watching this video the weekend that I put it up before January 21st, from now until Monday, KiwiCo has a line called Atlas Crate. It's fairly new, and it is a monthly subscription where once a month they send you a box, and it is a theme to a specific country. So we just got the Nigeria crate, and we have the Japan crate that should arrive any day. So in this specific crate, we have, let's see, play a game, make a pouch, and explore Nigeria. There were 5 different projects that we could do in this crate. So I just wanted to give you an idea in case you don't want to do any of this and you just want to get something once a month in the mail and have the opportunity to show your kids some different things about different countries. This is a good crate as well. So this weekend they're having 40% off. So you get this little envelope. This is not sponsored by them. This is just something that I purchased for the kids. And we have all this different information about Nigeria and the different projects they'll be doing. And then there are the supplies to make the different games and the different crafts. So I just got one crate for all of my kids to share, because by their different levels and abilities, they can each do one of the different projects with me and then kind of share with each other. So I wanted to show you guys that just because it is on sale right now. I know I've showed it on my Facebook page before, and I think that's a pretty cool thing to receive in the mail once a month. So this year my brother and I are actually getting together once a month, and we're going to be just having fun doing different countries, because I think we're both doing US geography this year, but we're still wanting our kids to study a country each month. So I'm making a recipe this month, he's making a recipe next month. We're just having fun with all of the cousins, and then they are going to have like a little cultural fair at the end of the year for the grandparents to show them some of the different things they learned about the different countries. That's another idea you can use as well. But this month when I'm teaching, I'm going to be teaching on Nigeria, because I already got a bunch of good ideas sent in the mail to me. So those are some ideas for how I teach, different resources. Make sure you check out that blog post below, and I will see you guys soon.